All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'll give you all a second here to turn on your cameras because I know you just love to turn them on. All right. So before we get started, what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk a little bit about some upcoming events that I think are going to be pretty cool. Um, Firstly, I'm starting next week. I'm going to be going to Taipei, and we're going to be teaching ACI 7 in Taipei. Um, Many of those students are here right now, which is really cool. Let's see here if I think she's here right now, right? Yes. All right. I'm going to add Angel. Hi, Angel. Wave. Hi. She's the primary organizer in Taiwan and if you would like to come to that event and you don't live in Taiwan, reach out to her directly, send her a message. She can get you information for that. We'll be there and we'll be doing Bodhisattva vows. So if you just happen to have freedom in your schedule and can fly next Monday, or, come to Taiwan. Um, but so that's happening then. And then afterwards, I'm going to Xi'an for DCI level 7, which is going to be a really awesome program if you can make it there. I believe it's sold out, but you never know. We're going to see Xuanzang's Tower and hang out there for about a week or so. And then after that, this is the part I wanted to tell you about, is we're a little bit late in getting everything organized because just getting our all of our organization schedules done for this year was very difficult as we were trying to navigate around um, some strategic shifts that we're making. So we finally got all the schedules, which then allowed me to put my schedule together. And I had promised all of you that with these courses, ACI 16, 17, and 18, that we would be offering some opportunities to meet in person. And that's going to be happening. And so we're actually in process of planning all of those. And the first one is actually going to happen starting next month in Thailand, and on a small island called Koh Samui, and very close to places in Asia like Vietnam, for example, and Taiwan, and Singapore and Malaysia. It's all very, very close, and it's very easy to get visas. Not yet. Okay, that's fine. Just put it up, whatever. Um, so we're going to be there next month for 6 days, and we're going to be studying a text called "The Source of All My Good," Yunten Chigirma, which is a Lamrim text. And specifically, what we're going to be going over is we're going to be doing a really what I find it a very engaging Lamrim meditation where we visualize the various steps of the Lamrim, and I'm going to be adding in some other more advanced steps to that meditation to prepare you for what might be coming next. Um, so we're going to be going through this text, and then at the end of the course on the 27th, we're then going to be doing ACIA 17 class 1 and 2 in person. So if you would like to come, check it out here. We've kept the prices as low as we can. It's actually quite inexpensive to be there. The prices include lodging and food as well. So we need 25 people to make this event financially stable. Okay. So, and I know a lot of people have already expressed interest. So, hopefully you can come. What if you can't come in person? Many of you might be asking. Well, that's okay. We also have an online version as well. And we set a relatively low price for that. And of course, if you can't afford that price, you can pay whatever you want up to $0. which is the ACI way. Um, but any support for this event, all basically all the money goes to paying for the event, and then anything extra will just go into ACI and cover our expenses to make ACI run. Teachers don't get any money, as you all know. We don't get paid for what we do. Um, so if you would like to come, this is an opportunity, one, especially if you're interested in Diamond Way, to meet in person. Um, it's difficult to have a deep relationship if you don't know the people personally, frankly. So, um, and of course, everyone has different karma and different seeds. And if you're not able to make that, of course, you can join online. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. We can hold about 50 people. It's a beautiful property that's about 10 to 15 minutes from the beach. And so what we're going to do during the program is in the morning, we're going to have meditation, yoga, and class. And then the afternoons will be retreat time, which also means you can hang out and do retreat on the property, meditate, contemplate, or you can even go down to the beach. You can hang out, you can relax. There's a spa at the facility. Basically sit back, relax, get some lam rim, meet some cool new people, and just enjoy the beauty of Thailand. So we'll be going there in a month. So that's where will be for that. And then coming up after this, probably in August or beginning of September, I haven't got the dates yet. We're going to be doing this at the end of ACI 17. We're going to be doing an event in Mexico. And in that event, we're going to be studying the gun and Lagyama. We're going to go deep into that practice, which is another preparation for Diamond Way practice. So that's going to be in August in person in Mexico. Um, Still working on details about that, and we're gonna get those details probably within the next month or so, so you can start making plans. And I do apologize that we didn't have this ready sooner. It just took a long time to get all the details, especially with all the other schedules going on. What about Europe? Oh, that's a very good question. Europe's event is going to happen at the end of ACI 18. We're going to go to Turkey probably, so we can get open to all countries, easy to get visas. And in that course, as soon as we get information about that, probably January, yes. And we're not passing Europe by. We're doing it last. Europe gets the coolest of all the courses because we're going to finish ACI 18. We're going to do a Maroc, which is the final exam. And then we're going to do Delam 1 in Turkey. So, and I thought that would be a good place to do that because it's kind of halfway between everybody. Right? We can and the time zones are really good to be able to broadcast that as well. So start making plans. It doesn't matter if it'll be cold. When you study Diamond Way, it doesn't matter. You just go where the teacher goes. Sorry. That's the best I can do. We can't do Europe in August. I thought about it, but that would be the dumbest time to go to Europe, where everyone's on vacation and the costs are super high. So it's all, and really at the end of the day, frankly, everybody, it has to do with my teacher schedule. I work around my teacher schedule. So whatever he does, I then move it around that. And if he changes, I change. So, and that's just how that relationship works. So I apologize if it's not the exact thing you wanted. Maybe we can talk about karma now. Then why aren't you getting what you want? Um, so actually, what I wanted to talk about next is we were hinting about this earlier, and I want to go deeper into it. And you haven't heard this yet, is so when we talk about the time gap, when we're talking about karma, I know, Anna, it's not easy to analyze, to manage both people. And then you have to manage your own life, and then you have to manage, all the teachers that appear in your life. You know, then it becomes a fun game. So when we're talking about karma, like, for example, when I said someone asked a question at the end of last class, like, does the feeling that arises when something happens come from a different seeds? Oh, by the way, you guys can bring your kids to some of these events. Okay, not all of them. We're trying to find venues where kids can come. So bring the kids too. It's good for them. So the question is, when something happens, how you feel about it, is it coming from a separate seed? And the answer is yes. Like when the fire alarm went off, I could have many reactions to it. I could sleep through it. I could feel crappy about it. I can be irritated about it. I could rejoice that it's doing its job. I could be neutral about it. You know, so all the different feelings that come up when something happens is are coming from separate seeds. And so the seed that's planted in any moment, when do you see the result? Right? And I think that's the question that everybody wants. Tim, when am I going to see the results of this? Right? Like when is that seed going to ripen? When is my life going to get better? Right? That's the people ask this question all the time. When is it going to get better? Well, it's been horrible for years. Or I got sick, or, you know, everything was going great, and then all these bad seeds ripened. Like, like when is it just going to end? Oh, when Sansara ends, probably. Sorry. But that doesn't feel nice, you know. And so I think everyone asks this questions like, how do I make the seed ripen faster? Like, how do I do the 4 steps work? Great. Exactly, Tyler. Like, does it work? And there's three. When I first learned this, I was always like, that's a little, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like what I'm going to say right now. I didn't like the first time I heard it. Okay. And it really was like, well, when does the seed ripen? So there's three times, there's three, yeah, three categories or times when a seed will ripen. All right. When is that? Okay. It'll, it'll ripen in this lifetime. That's the first option. It'll ripen in this lifetime. Second option, it'll ripen in your very next life. Okay. And I tried to create a picture that looks like the near future, right? Like if we all died today, our next life, like maybe it would be somewhat like our life it is today. Hopefully, if we good enough karma, right? So at first, it'll ripen in this lifetime, or it'll ripen in the next lifetime, or any other life after this. Wow, that's really nice, isn't it? Basically, it says the seed will ripen, and you don't know when. It could come out now in this life. It could come out in the next life, or it could come out in any other life after the next one. Which honestly to me was the most irritating thing to be told me. Great, thanks. Wonderful. Thank you for letting me know that it'll ripen in the future. at some unspecified time. Okay. And really when we're discussing with students and we're teaching, we don't know at first what seeds cause what results. Because we might say, look, I've been doing the 4 steps. Okay, for example, like let's say you're looking for a partner, right? And everyone knows, if you haven't heard it, you'll hear it flash news. If you're looking for a partner, what are the powerful seeds to meet a partner? Well, take care of lonely people, first of all. Okay. Go get yourself someone who's lonely and provide companionship, right? Another thing to do. Well, respect other people's relationships. Don't get don't get jealous when other people have successful relationships. Like you want to block a good relationship, just be jealous about all the other good relationships that you don't have. You know, all those other people are so happy and I'm so freaking miserable. Right? So okay, great. And then here's so then some people, a year later, people come to me like, oh my God, I met my partner. Oh, great. Well, what'd you do? Well, I went to the nursing home. I respected other people's relationships. I wasn't jealous. I did all my purifications. I realized that, I wasn't that ethical with people in the past. I stopped looking at other people's partners, you know. And honestly, everyone, if you're human, just give it up. You're going to make mistakes. Okay? Don't judge yourself. Don't shame yourself. Just try to stop it. Like, you know, what if you like I saw someone yesterday and I was like, wow, they're so beautiful. And I kind of was like, wow, and then it was like, oh, then I realized I had a partner. Right. And I was like, oh, okay. Reset, like, right. Oh, they're so beautiful and not available. Right. I'm so happy that I have a beautiful person in my world. Right. I have good seeds to see beauty everywhere. Wonderful. But don't do anything with it. You see, don't then crave or desire. So I'm doing all those things and I finally met my partner. Yay, excellent. As little pom-poms, right? Everyone, everyone celebrates. Oh, I finally got the thing that I wanted, right? I did all the seeds, right? See if we can get some celebrations, right? Everyone celebrates. Now, if you're a real ACI 5 houses practitioner, can you say that the seeds you planted at the nursing home were the ones that ripened into the partner that showed up now? No, you can't. You have to be honest. You have to say, well, nope, that's not that's not accurate. You don't know what seed flourished in that moment. You don't know where it came from. Maybe it came from going to the nursing home. Maybe it came from that purification practice. Maybe it came from 10 lifetimes ago when all you did was work in a nursing home taking care of old people. You know, you have no idea, right? You have no clue. If you're honest, we don't know what seed came from what, from when. So I'm sorry, that's depressing, you know. So, but, and however, the more you practice, the more stable your meditation gets. The more you do this, the more feelings you'll start to get of where something came from. Part of what we're doing is we're creating the conditions for certain seeds to be delivered to us, right? We're creating the postal delivery service for certain seeds to ripen in. Like, if you think about it, like, what makes a dog a dog? Okay. Like, they see chew toys, right? So they see chew toys, and that's what makes a dog, is that they have a certain set of seeds that are ripening in a certain kind of way to produce certain kinds of realities, right? And the same with being a human. A human has certain sets of seeds that are available. You don't have dog seeds available to you right now, but do you have seeds? Do you have dog seeds? Did you study ACI 4? Do you have cat seeds, right? Do you have deva seeds, right? You know, it's just that that condition is not available to you right now. So what we're trying to do is create the conditions and the delivery mechanisms for these seeds to come out, right? That's one of the reasons why we do retreat. That's one of the reasons, that's why we do all of these practices to kind of to create certain conditions and also plant certain seeds that we want to have ripen in the future. Like, one of the ways of understanding this teaching of this life, next life, or any other life is where you want to focus in is like your next one. Like, where are you going next? Because if you have dog seeds and like butterfly seeds and cat seeds and hungry ghost seeds and hell realm seeds, which one do you want to come out next? Do you want to be the beautiful butterfly who's ignorantly just chilling out, flying, like, oh, it's a beautiful weather day. I'm just come out of my cocoon and gets hit by a car? How many butterflies and have did I hit yesterday driving? A lot. I was trying not, I was like, it was painful to me. I'm like, ugh, like every single one. It was like, no, 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 don't fly out now, idiot. You know, right? And then I have the karma to see that as well. You know, is that the kind of life that you want? I don't, right? So like part of this teaching is like we're preparing our future self. We're getting ourselves ready for future you. And so a lot of what we did, those top 10 good deeds or bad deeds, depending how you look at it, are designed to create a future you that you will enjoy. And also on top of it, like, how often, being born as a human is so rare to begin with, but like coming back as one of these other creatures, like, what opportunities do you have to build another good karmic foundation? And that's why we study this. One of the reasons, not all of them, but one of the reasons is what's coming next. I thought a lot about it about Mama G. Like, what's next for her? Where is she going next? Like I have some ideas, but I don't know. I do know, but it's could be scary. It could be scary for any of us. So part of the teaching is like, what are you getting ready for? How are you setting up for next life? Even with all the chaos happening in today's life, what's happening next for you? Like, that's the point of studying this is now that I know there's a cause and effect relationship, what do I do now? Tell me what to do. What's next? Like, what do I do in the chaos of things? What do I do in the banality of my fire alarm going off in the middle of the night? Like, that's really not a suffering, guys. It's a type of suffering, but it's not bombs aren't being dropped on your head. It's a different type of suffering. So what do I do? What do I stop doing? What do I take up and what do I give up? And that's kind of the point of all of this now is how do we figure out what to do to set up next year, 5 years, 10 years, next life? Okay. So that's one thing. Because if you come back as pretty much anything else besides a human, your chances of having an opportunity to plant good seeds and stop doing bad things is minimal and more random at best. Um, but what I want to talk about, which you haven't heard yet, is about this whole thing about getting things to ripen in this lifetime. Like, how can we get things to ripen now, which is really what we want, I think. I want to change it now. I mean, sure, I hope I have a good next life, right? I hope that I, get born into a nice, comfortable family. I'm designing it already. Like, definitely the beach, definitely not the how was it, 42 degrees centigrade here in Arizona right now in the springtime. Definitely don't want that. Nice water, good food, good people, disease free, all of those things, planting seeds for that. And maybe I'll find it in this lifetime. You know, Clearly I'm cleaning up some other karma to live in a hot desert. But how do you get it to ripen in this lifetime? Like, that's the main question. Like, how do we do it now? And there are some techniques around that. And then on top of it is the question is like, how do you know if what ripens in 6 months from now is a result of today's practice, right? And at first, the answer is you don't know. And that's how it's going to be, you know. But after a while in your practice, you start to get feelings of because you become aware of like the mantra of asking, well, why do I have to see this becomes so automatic that in the moment of something happening, you're immediately like, okay, what caused this? What do I need to stop doing if I don't like it? If I like it, then I'm like, what caused this and how can I keep more of this? Right? Like, the mixed karma of like, if I see a lot of beauty in the world, like I see beautiful people around me, I must have done a good thing, right? So I want to see more beauty around the world. I want to see more beautiful people. And frankly, the more that you do these top 10 up on top of a lot of other things, you know, you will just the people around you will just seem beautiful. Like where before you were surrounded by kind of like meh people, all of a sudden those meh people are awesome people. Like what changed? Your karma changed. Like the beauty of the people around you, they just it's not like they all went and got facelifts and then put some cream on their face and like, that's not how it worked. You know, it works because your karma shifted. And I want more beautiful people in the world. And especially like that's what I desire. And that's a good desire. But then just don't get wrapped up in like all of your sexual desire and getting all like, ooh, well, what can that beauty bring for me? How can it make me feel even better? Right? You know, beauty can make you feel great and beauty can make you feel like shit. Doesn't come from the beauty, right? And so then you start taking care of other people in a different way. Then you're like, okay, well, instead of like trying to figure out if someone is single or not, when you meet a beautiful person, just treat them like they're a beautiful person. Like, wow, this is great. Look at all the beauty in the world and don't even go there. You know, I remember I took celibacy vows, I don't know, 2 years ago, I don't know when it was. And it was for like I think 6 months, something like that. And it was the most annoying thing in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because everywhere I went, all the beautiful people would sit down and start talking to me. And I was like, where the fuck were you before when when I could engage you in this way? Where were you before? You know, why weren't you talking to me before? Now, all of a sudden, all of these beautiful, hot people, interesting people, by the way, are like, it's like honey, it's like bees on honey. Like, I was like, holy crap. Like, I didn't realize people found me attractive. Like, understand why? Because I wasn't putting out the energy of like wanting or needing or desiring. Right? I was just treating people like people. Like, oh, you're a cool person, you're a cool person, you're a cool person, right? And then I understood more deeply about how sexual energy works for me and how to use it in a very different way. Actually, this was 4 years ago when I did this. And it was, and it gave me a lot of compassion to other people because, when you create that boundary, like it's not like your body stops. It's not like you just turn your your drive off. It's not like you just stop your hormones and be like, "Hey guys, we're on a celibacy vow break. Just shut off and go away." It doesn't work that way, right? You then learn about your desire. You learn about how controlling it is, how powerful it is, how big it can be, and how stupid it can make you, you know. And it gave me a lot of compassion for myself and for others, right? Just being like, oh my God, this is this is a management, like there's a management that needs to happen here. And but it changed my relationship with people. Like, like and it changed my relationships with the karma around all of it too. So where is this going? It's like, okay, how do you know when something ripens in this life, it's from a seed that you planted in this life? Okay. And what's the point of even saying it can ripen in this lifetime? So first of all, I would say that as your practice gets better, you start getting a sense of where it came from. You're like, was that a recent thing or was that like a not recent thing? And you get more of a feeling from it. But the main point of that teaching is more of a diamond way perspective. Like, how do you get the practices that you're doing now to ripen now? Because the promise, you know, of Diamond Way is that you can, in a single lifetime, with extraordinary practice, be able to reach that final goal in one single lifetime. And how do you navigate that? How does your motivation change? And you see, so we start in the beginning. So let me just give a larger perspective. When we start in the beginning, we learn the Abhidharma. We get this thing called the four steps. Shi Sampajora Tartuk. You've heard it a gazillion times, right? Shi Sampajora Tartuk. You put them all together, right? And from there comes an applicable understanding of what all of those things mean. You know, First step, decide what you want. Second step, make a plan. Who are you going to help? Third step, I see Jenny like totally with me on this one. Third step, just do it, right? Just do it, right? And then the fourth step, Tartuk, you then rejoice about it. You're like, wow, that was awesome. Like, I'm using a different way to get something. I'm not just going to grab it. I'm going to plant the seed first, right? Now, and as you move along in your practice, the shape of the four steps and the practices within the four steps become more and more subtle. We could call it more advanced, but let's just call it more and more subtle. Um, and each of those things and the practices around them become more nuanced and more powerful. So, all right, so how do we speed it up? Okay, two main things. We're going to go to this level, and I'm going to go a little bit further now. The second step, where you make a plan, also has several additional things you can put into it when you're making your plan, when you're thinking about it. One is the feeling behind it. What kind of feeling are you putting into it? Like, are you just kind of like, oh, my old lady, whatever, okay, yeah, I'm going to go see her again. It's kind of annoying. We talk about the same thing every week, you know. What kind of feeling are you uploading when you're planting the seed? Yeah, you're still taking care of a lonely person. But, is that the feeling that you want to put in behind it? You know, and the next thing to add into it is your motivation. Why are you doing it? What's the purpose behind it? Are you just visiting the old lady because you want a partner? Well, that's a little darn selfish. Or are you doing it for a higher purpose? Yes, you have a motivation of, yeah, yeah, I'm lonely and I would love to have more people around, or I love to have a companion in life. Maybe you want a spiritual companion. Maybe you want, a life companion. Maybe you want both. Maybe you want a part-time companion. Like maybe you just want a partner who shows up twice a week. That's nice. And then you have 5 days off. You know, decide what the hell you want. Doesn't matter. You know, But like their motivation is not just about about you. Like you're also taking care of them. Like it fucking sucks to be old and lonely and no one taking care of you or paying attention to you. Like just fading away into like the next life. I'm not interesting anymore. Every old person had an interesting life before they got old. Now they have to sit in a wheelchair or they can't walk around. Their mind doesn't work as well. Their body doesn't work. You will get there someday. You'll get there someday. And if you haven't experienced any of that yet, you don't know what you had until you lose it. Like, God, I would love to have my 20-year-old body again. Oh my God. Like I didn't know. I didn't know what 50, close to 50 would be like, right? It's just not the same anymore. So it's not just about you getting a partner, but it's like, how are you supporting that person? And then you can add more motivation into it. Like, what if everybody started thinking this way? Like they start doing something a little different instead of what if everyone thought this way? Their nightclubs would go out of business and nursing homes would be booming, right? No one would go to a nightclub anymore. They would all hang out in the afternoon with old people, old lonely people at nursing homes. You see? And you think about like if they to get what they wanted, gave it to other people first, what would that world be like? And you can just imagine all of these things. Thirdly, how you conceive of this, right? Remember, it was in last class, and I was talking about my friend Elias, who I met in Newark Airport, Chilean. He was in New York visiting some family, and we ended up sitting next to each other in the airport. Ended up being on the plane, pretty close on the plane too. You know, and if I hadn't met Elias, then I would never have been introduced to Reiki, and then I would never have met the teacher there. And then when I moved to Philadelphia, I would never have looked for another Reiki teacher there. And then I wouldn't have met a really good friend who ended up becoming my partner for quite a while from that class. And then we became Reiki teachers together. And in the class we had the Diamond Cutter book, which happened to show up in the reading list that I had to write a book report for. Out of 30 books, I chose that one, right? So my question is, who is Elias? Was Elias just a random person? Or what if in a way, what if Elias was someone who pushed me on my path? What if Elias was an enlightened being who showed up and was like, ooh, I think this is going to help Tim in 15 years, 10 years, right? So now the way I conceive of it is entirely different. Which one was he? You think about that for a second. Is Elias just a random Chilean guy who was in the airport in New York? Or was he an enlightened being? when you walk into the old lady's room or the old man's room at the nursing home, who are they? Are they just an old lady? Maybe. But what if they were conspiring 85 years ago? Say, oh, you know what? Tim is going to need loneliness seeds, seeds to counter his loneliness so he can have companionship. So I'm going to go to the Peachtree Cafe and I'm going to ask the owner for a ride home. And the owner's going to go out and ask Tim if he can give her a ride home. Right. And then maybe he'll say yes. And then maybe he can hang out with me every couple weeks. We go to Peachtree and we have breakfast and drive her around. And, maybe that will happen. Maybe 85 years ago, there was a enlightened plan to help Tim in 2025, now 26, right? Just changing your conception as you do all three of those things as you're like opening the door at the nursing home. Okay. And then you're changing the quality of the seeds that are being planted. All right. Is the old lady an enlightened being? I don't know. Can I prove that she's not an enlightened being? No. That's why logic is so important. I can't prove that she is, but I can't prove that she's not. What kind of seeds are you planting if you treat her like an enlightened being versus not an enlightened being? Does it? And then what would happen when you're treating her that way? You know, just think about it. Think about the quality of the seed that you're planting when you do that. How does it change? How does how do you change a normal action into an extraordinary action when it looks from the outside to be identical? If you had a camera crew following you around, like at The Office, one of my favorite American television shows, okay? And the camera crew is following you around doing a documentary of your life, Alona, okay? And they watch you, right? And they watch you go to the nursing home and they watch you like open that door and then you go in and you're like, let's go to Peachtree Cafe. And old lady walks out with you and you get her in the car and she talks about, same thing she talked about last week. And then you walk in and, she's, you know, has her walker and like she talks about falling and all the normal things that she talks about, right? And you have waffles for breakfast, right? And then you take her home and then you do it next week, right? The video every week will look the same, maybe, right? To the video camera, it just looks like you walked up and you opened the door. But to your karma, what you're doing in your mind, the raw karma, as I said, Semba, the movement of your mind, how are you moving your mind? And that how changes the kind of seeds you're planting. So you have to think about it in a way that's what is actually going on. Is the old lady there by herself, existing by herself, independent of your seeds? No. What you're doing in your mind before you even interact with her is changing the seeds that are being planted while you're interacting with her and the conception that you have, the motivation and the feeling that you have. And it's a practice. It takes time. But as you start working with this more and more, then you start asking yourself the question, well, who else? This is kind of a future thing, but who else in my life pushed me? Who pushed you to get you to be here today to hear this teaching? What normal schmuck in your life who just was like, oh, just some normal whatever person brought you here today? Let's take a moment and think about it. How did you get to sitting here right now? Did some normal person in your life just do some random thing that led to a choice where you went left instead of right, and now you're sitting here? Let's take a moment of silence. We're going to sit for 1 minute, and I want you to go backwards in your life. Can you think of one person? Just normal person who guided you, that if they didn't do that, you wouldn't be sitting where you are today. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to think too. And that's a Tartuk meditation, right? Like look at that. Look at the, I mean, if you need a picture, I love this picture. Like just, you know, close your eyes, look up at the stars and think about it, right? Is there anyone here who wasn't able to find somebody? Was that, you may have come across several people. you know, you might come across events, right? Like, okay, the person who gave you birth, that's a great place. They chose to give birth to you, right? You know, I was even like, I was thinking my smoke detector, maybe my smoke detector was an enlightened being, taking the form of a smoke detector that ran out of its batteries so then I could go do all that stuff at 1 a.m. So then I would have content for today's class for you, right? You know, that's a Tartuk meditation. That's a coffee meditation, you see, if you ever wanted one. So the question becomes, how do we supercharge our four-step practices so that we can get the seeds to ripen in this one single lifetime to make those transformations? And what separates a bodhisattva's motivation and a bodhisattva who's a diamond way practitioner's motivation? Like, what's the difference? Like, is there a difference? Like, does the wish to become enlightened for the sake of every living being is Maitreya's definition of bodhicitta. Tracy, how do you say it in Tibetan? Come on.
Lele Jikten Na Sok. Oh, can't remember the last word.
Nope, nope. That's the opening line of the fourth chapter of the Abhidharma.
Oh no.
I want the Maitreya's definition of bodhicitta, the short one.
Oh, just in English?
Oh, in Tibetan.
I can't remember right now.
Oh,
For $0.
Semke. I'll give you the first two words. Semke Pane.
Semke.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Semke. Semke. Oh, I can't remember.
It's okay. Semke Pane Shendan Chir. Yangdak Sokpe Chanchub De.
Semke Pane Chemdinjir. Was the last part?
Chanchub De.
Chumchubda. Okay, I promise the next time you ask me, I'll know.
It's okay. I'm just playing with you. You know that. Thank you. So that's where that's the definition of it, right? But what separates the motivation, like a diamond way practitioner's motivation, from, a normal bodhisattva? And is there a difference? That's my question, right? And I would say that the difference comes down, comes down to a few things. One is what we're talking about is getting it to things to ripen in this lifetime. And this is what this is what DCI is all focused on. And if you look at it, you're going to be, now that you have a different viewpoint, when you look at DCI, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is the most incredibly deep things. But how to do it in one lifetime? That's it. Like, how do you do it now? How do you make the changes now, today, next year, next week, tomorrow? And it's an extraordinary motivation. And so many people are like, but Tim, I don't have it yet. I don't get it yet. You're not giving me Diamond Way yet. And I was like, foundations. Like, when we study the Diamond Way vows, we're going to be studying the Vinaya vows first. Sorry. Surprise. Hee hee. Surprise. 10 non-virtues or 10 virtues, right? The foundations are it. And if you think otherwise, you've missed the point. but it becomes this extraordinary motivation that you're willing to risk what it would take to transform, what it would take to become that. Like it's high risk, high gain. Like do want to do it. And if you do want to do it and you want to do it in one lifetime, what will it take to do that? And that takes a thorough, complete, honest, deep investigation into who you think you are. And then confronting every single mental affliction you have. Right? And then be willing to change it. And then be willing to like look at it and be like, yep, you're coming from me. Yep, you're coming from me. Yep, you're coming from me. And then take full personal responsibility for it and what appears in your world fully. And then not getting upset about it either. And not criticizing others, but loving others because they are you. They're coming from you. There's no other way. And it's not mind only either, in the sense of it's not just in your head. Because a pen can be a chew toy and a pen can be the stick can be a chew toy, the stick can be a pen, the stick could be an enlightenment guide. It doesn't matter who's watching. Excuse me, it matters who's watching. It can be all three. All right. So when you have that extraordinary motivation, and you will have it'll come and go, it'll wane, it'll increase. It's not going to be consistent. But if you got here today, it's probably because you have a feeling. You have a feeling that sutra is not enough. And it's not. But sutra is tantra. Sutra is Diamond Way. Start shifting the perspective. Okay. Oh, someone's being like this. That was awesome. Someone was telling someone else to like coming from them. It's awesome. So that's the point of that teaching. And I'm spending most of this class on it because I want you to get a feel for it. And the rest of the material you can grab from your study groups. But the second key point that I want to come to at this juncture is karma is not enough without an understanding of emptiness. Like understanding cause and effect is half of the issue. Like you're understanding what's there. You're trying to convert or change or something what's there. But we also have to understand what's not there. Like it's really easy to be like, oh, that's a pen, that's a chew toy. That's a nice person, that's a bad person. Those are easy things. But to understand what's not there. And Maitreya gives us the key to this. Maitreya gives us the connection with all of this. And he gives us 6 steps to understand how emptiness and dependence function together. And when you merge those two together in your practice, that's how you speed it up. All right. So let's go through that. And then you can get a sense of how these are connected and why this is such a profound teaching. And then you can get all the details later. Well, you should have already gotten the details. And if you haven't taken the course yet, that's why we have review groups. Let's see here. Sorry. My courses, not those courses. All right. All right, here we go. So Maitreya, and who is Maitreya? Right, that's another good question, right? Maitreya is in the sutric teachings is the coming Buddha, not yet a Buddha. And many of you know the story that he was famously Arya Sangha famously met him when he had a moment of real compassion, which I would also say was fused with an incredible understanding of emptiness as well. And you all know the story about there was the dog on the side of the street who was run over, who had you know, was bleeding and it had the little worms inside of it. And Asanga was trying to save not only the dog, but also the worms, because all living beings are valuable. And in that compassion, real sense of compassion is when Maitreya appeared, meaning his karma shifted that he transformed from a dog into Maitreya. And then after that, received what we now have are the 5 books of Maitreya. Asanga brought them back and wrote down what he was taught. So one of the main things of the many things that Maitreya taught him was this 6 steps. Like there's 6 components. We want to call it that. Like, how is it that we grasp to self nature? And this is the key. This is the key to understanding all of it. And this is the key to understanding Sutra. This is the key to understanding Diamond Way. This is the key to understanding your vows. Why would you even, why would you even, how do I say this? Why would you even do the things that someone told you? If I gave you these 10 things, this list of 10 virtues, why would you do them? Because Tim told you to do them? Because Tim said, oh, plant some good seeds, right? I mean, unless you really believe me and like do everything that I say, which I have yet to have a student do everything that I say, which is not possible because the students have to make the decisions for themselves. And sometimes they're asked to do things that they have to make a decision whether to do it or not. You are the one who's planting them. You're the one who has to do this. You're the one who has to come to it in your own mind to understand. Like the teacher can't tell you what to do. If you understand how that sentence works, then you're quite far along. So Maitreya gave us 6 steps. How is it that we hold on to a self nature? What is the relationship between the self nature of something like, I don't know, a water bottle, okay, or Tim, or Tracy, right, or Alona, right? The self nature of a person or a self nature of a thing. Like, how do we perceive it as coming this way, right? And I'm going to tell you that you think karma is coming this way too. You think karma is out there on its own from its own side. You think the 4 steps are on its own coming from its own side. You think the causes are that way and you think the results are that way. Not because you're a bad person, because we have habits. But we have to start from that place and deconstruct it. It's like a deconstruction. Yeah, it's like tearing down the old building so you can build the new one. Like you have to put a you can do it slow, right? We'll take the window out, we'll take the walls out, we'll take it down piece by piece. You can send a wrecking ball into it. You can do a controlled demolition, or you could just do an uncontrolled demolition and just, bury it all in dust and then try to pick it up afterwards. Everyone has their own technique. I like Tracy's renovation. We're going to renovate. Okay. And you piece by piece, you renovate, yes, it is a t-shirt. You renovate your life. You renovate the way that you think about things. You understand the relationship between karma and emptiness. So here it is. Let's have a look at it. Okay. First step, you know, when you're born, okay, here's some twins that have just come out. Okay. When you're born, you have seeds in your mind. You have what we call bakchaks. You have propensities already in your mind for two things. And what are those two things? Well, it's the tendency, one, to see yourself as self-existent. Okay. And then two, to see your parts as self-existent, meaning mainly the things in your world. We'll talk about it later. Right. So, and this came from your past. This came from your past life. Like you came into this life with these seeds already, which is depressing as hell. Like you're already you're already in a constructed building. The thing that constructed you as a human being is the tendencies to see things as coming from themselves, from their own side. Your mechanisms, the things that made you in your body, from the level of your subtle body all the way up to your physical body and then your world, is infused like a really good green tea already, right? The thing that made you, when that water was being poured into the tea maker, right? The teapot, rather, they were already there, unfortunately. Okay. What made you you is that. Like, so unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to say it, the thing that made you human was this tendency, these bakchaks. You have these seeds that were already there. Okay. And because of those seeds, you start like this race, you start to have that tendency, right? You're in the womb, right? You came out. Those seeds opened up, and that opening of that seed is what created the world around you, including you, your subtle body, and your physical body and your mind. All of those things together. And then you started to have it. So you have the seeds as the first step, the bakchaks. The second step is you start to have that tendency to see that way. All right. And so then when you open your eyes, you open up your senses, your perceptions. You have the seeds, you start to see it that way, and then you see things the wrong way, like this cross-eyed person, right? Certain things become attractive to you, and certain things become unattractive to you. You like certain things. I'm sorry, this first step is just they appear to you as attractive or unattractive. And then as a fourth step, you begin to feel a desire. You like them, thumbs up. You dislike them, thumbs down, right? And you do it with, it's infused in this green tea of misunderstanding. I'm sorry, Asia. I know it's almost midnight. We're almost done. You guys are doing great. I'm watching the eyes go. I'm trying to stay awake, trying to stay awake. And it's even later in Vietnam. I'm sorry. We're almost done. Okay. You guys suffer to stay awake. I suffer to wake up. It's fair. All right. So the fourth step is you begin to feel that liking or disliking. You feel that kind of like through misunderstanding. Okay. Now here's the most important thing. You feel that you like something and then you feel like you dislike something. And it's already infused in the tea of misunderstanding. And then your action that you take is motivated by that liking or disliking emotion. So the things that you think, say, or do are already imbued in the tea of misunderstanding, which came from a bakchak from your previous life that opened you up as a being that does this. Okay. And that's not the last slide there. Something happened. And then the last one is, then you continue to circle around in the suffering life. This is what continues the cycle. And it keeps you spinning around in that. All right. So we're going to go through it one more time. This time I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to fix my PowerPoint first of all. And then if you can capture what this is saying and you can capture how this is related to emptiness, then your four-step practice is going to be extraordinarily powerful because you can see, you can interrupt. You have options to interrupt here. So the backwards way is, all right, the thing that's spinning us around, right, is what? Is our the things that we say, things that we think, see, or do, right? That's motivated by the emotions of disliking and liking, the misunderstandings. So let me say something here. This is the step to interrupt. Okay. Because we're already doing this. Oops, there's her eyeballs. We're already in this. We're already spinning. Even the things you're thinking, saying, and doing right now are spinning this, right? And the thing that's spinning it is whether you like it or you dislike it. Oh, I like Tim's class, so I'm staying up late, right? I'm disliking Tim's class. I'm feeling rare, right? That liking and disliking is already imbued in the tea of misunderstanding. You think this class is coming from its own side. You think this class is coming from Zoom. You think this class is coming from a program called completion karma, right? We need to interrupt the tea of misunderstanding and brew a different tea, right? And that's the work because we're seeing things this way coming at us versus coming out of our seats, including ourselves. Like me is coming out of seats, you know. So because of we have this misperception, right? We begin to feel liking and disliking, right? Our eyes are already we're already cross-eyed. Like, look, you're already cross-eyed before you like and dislike something. Well, shit, right? You're already cross-eyed, right? Not only that, before you were cross-eyed, those seeds were already opening up. They created your senses. They created your eyeballs. They created your ears and nose and mouth and the thoughts in your mind, right? And they also came from these bakchucks as well, right? You see, so like in English, we have an expression, you're already hosed. You're already screwed. We came into this life with a broken mechanism. The, but don't be so depressed about it. Okay. And I'll tell you why in a second. So let's do it one more time. You're born with these seeds. All right. That's the first one. You're born with it. Secondly, because you were born with those seeds from past lives, you start to see those seeds start to open up and you see things as self-existence, me and mine, me and my parts. And because of that, you see things the wrong way. You get cross-eyed. Some things start appearing nice and some things appear undesirable from their own side. Like that's a nice person. That's an ugly person. Like that's good food. That's bad food. Whatever it is. I like that smell. I don't like that smell. Some people love a perfume. Other people hate a perfume, right? Nothing in the perfume that makes it from its own side good. But that's not how seeds work. These seeds of misunderstanding. So after you things start appearing that way, you begin to feel like this liking or disliking. They appear attractive first, and then you go, ooh, I like, or ooh, I don't like, right? And then five, because of that emotion of a liking or disliking, you want to bring the things closer to you, or you want to push them away, right? Whether you like or dislike. And that causes you to think, say, and do things. And that's collecting more karma. And that karma is then number six, spiraling you around and from life to life. Okay. So you can see the deep, deep interweaving of karma and emptiness. You can see how those things come together in a way. And then on the positive side, what I was said earlier is that we can short circuit this, right? You know, we can stop, we can use this, how do I say this? You can use these six steps to interrupt it. So then the fabric of reality is not producing an undesirable realm, but it's producing a desirable realm, meaning a place that you want to be, a place that doesn't have to appear to you as a worn-torn battlefield where people are just competing to get the things that they want and hurting others by doing so, but rather understanding how it became the way it was and how you can do something different to create different results. And it all starts from misunderstanding who you think you are, me and mine, because you think you're self-existent. You could have been a dog. You could have been a cat. You could have been a beautiful butterfly that got hit by a car, you know, or you could be a human, and I think and the reason we're doing this is because that's the foundation of Diamond Way practice. advancing to the place where you're willing to look at the earlier stages of those 6 steps. Does that make sense? Like we start by going, okay, well, look, this is how it works, 4 steps. This is how it works. Do this, do that. That's what the Buddha said. That was the Buddha's description of dependence. If you do this, you get that. Okay. Then we're like, yeah, you know what? I'm tired of this shit that I have in this life. Yeah, so am I. We're all tired of it. Let's do something different. All right, how do we create something different? Well, we got to do some different causes. Okay, great. Let's do the 4 steps. Wonderful. Thanks, Buddha. Thank you for teaching us. Right. And then we start doing it, and I'm being totally respectful. Right. And so we start doing it, and then we start seeing, well, maybe there's some results here. Wow, like if I do different causes, I might get different results. And then with some more extraordinary practices, you start seeing them happen faster and faster. But then you have to be willing to go deeper because it's not enough just to be generous to other people. You have to, by the way, you have to be even more generous in Diamond Way practice. Okay. Your ethics have to be even better. Your Vinaya has to be even stronger. But you do it with wisdom and understanding. Because then if you're not understanding that you has these tendencies to see you in a certain way as coming this way, then everything you're doing at this later level is already infected in the tea of misunderstanding. Okay. I'll say it again. The 6 steps of Maitreya is such a deep teaching, and it's a blessing that we're hearing it right now. Is if you do it in the reverse order, which is what we're doing, like we understand how it becomes the way things are, the why we're in the circle, but then we have to deconstruct. Or as Tracy said, we need to renovate, which I love. It's so much more positive. We're renovating. It's so much easier because renovations sometimes suck. Your house is a disaster. All of your stuff is not in the where it needs to be, but you still have a house, right? And we're going backwards. We're going backwards. Yes, Jillian, 3 spheres is powerful in this moment. Is we're saying, all right, how do things become things? Well, there's cause and effect. Great. How do we learn to change those causes? Okay, well, this cause creates that result. Okay, well, what does sexual misconduct create? Oh, I don't know, dirty toilets. Want to purify your sexual misconduct from a previous lifetime? Go clean some toilets. Okay. Thank you for connecting to 2 hours ago. All right. You want to stop smelling urine and feces in places? Because you can go into a public bathroom and it's totally clean and nice. Or you can go to a public bathroom and it's a total, pardon the expression, shithole. Because it literally is where that expression comes from, right? Clean up your sexual misconduct. Stop coveting other people's partners. Stop being jealous that someone has a good partnership. Stop desiring. If someone's in a committed monogamous relationship, let them be in their committed monogamous relationship. So what if you're attracted to them? It's a mixed karma. Like, don't do it. Just don't do it. Right. And then the Buddha gave us all these things to do and not do. Help. And it's not about Do because it's a moral imperative. The only imperative is in it is if you want something better, do this. If you want something worse, do this. You have freedom. You have all the freedom in the world to choose what you want to do. And then you'll get what you sow. And then as you move backwards through all of those steps, you start to realize that karma itself is not self-existent. You believe it's out there on its own, from its own side, not independent of your own seeds. And karma can work perfectly well and still be coming from you. And then when you move even further back and you look at yourself and you say, look, well, the self is coming from seeds. I'm not self-existent. I am seeing myself as independent of all of this. And until you really start working on that level, the transformations that you make will be temporary at best. But you see, if you understand the larger, like what the methodology is, we have to start somewhere, right? We have to start in each of and even by doing the 4 steps, you're building seeds of wisdom, even if you still see things incorrectly. That's the cool thing. And as things build, the wisdom starts building inside of you. It'll be stronger, it'll be weaker, it'll wane, it'll grow, it'll don't, it's fine. Don't get so worried about the day-to-day fluctuations. It's like the stock market. You know, just, you know, just put your investment in wisdom and just let it grow. Okay. Long-term investment. Don't worry about short-term gains and losses. There's so much to talk about here, and we're at time. And that's where I wanted to get to today. That was my goal for today. The rest of the class you can do in your study groups. Um, but I think it's a blessing to spend the time on the deep relationship of karma to emptiness and to link those two and to because if you understand that, all the rest of it makes sense. And I implore and beg you that these classes are only as valuable as you try to practice it in your life. Like coming to class and listening over and over and over again is key to shifting because you're being reminded, but you have to put it into practice. You have to try, and it's in the trying that we will succeed and we will have we'll have our failures. You know, we'll have the stock market will go up. Some days the wisdom will be great, and other days the wisdom will just tank and you'll fall apart and that happens and it's okay. It's a long-term investment, and if we have the right motivations year after year, you will start seeing changes. I've seen massive changes in the most difficult people. You just have to be patient. The most, and it just takes time, you know. And just imagine if there's difficult people in the world, guess who's being difficult? You are. If I see difficult people, it's because I was difficult in the past, and I'm probably still difficult, you know. So give yourself a little bit of credit. You know, you're doing good. We're doing great things. We really are. If you don't see that because you're just having a bad wisdom investment day, it's okay. Just pick yourself back up, get on your cushion, meditate, and just try to be a better person each day, just a little bit. Do one nice thing for someone with a little bit of wisdom, and then things do change bit by bit. And then as we move along, we start to learn how to accelerate. but you have to be ready for the acceleration. Your renovations, got to be ready for massive renovations. So once again, we are having this event next month. Can we put up the QR code again? We'll be in Thailand. We're going to be going through a beautiful visualization on all the steps of the path to make the practices real. How do you make them real in your life? Like, how do you practice it when your fire alarm goes off, when somebody yells at you, when your money is tight, when you can't get the things that you want, when people are mean to you, you know, when life happens, how do you practice? And that's what we're going to focus on in this first retreat, um, is how to do all of that and how to do it within the context of the path. So hopefully we'll see many of you there. We'll also be offering it online as well that whole week. And if you can't attend that, on April 27th, we will be doing ACI 17 class 1 and 2 together. So you have many options. Hope to see you soon. Thank you, interpreters. Thank you, all the hosts. Thank you for the recordings. Thank you, Anastasia, for managing this bear of a program. Thank you, all the study group leaders, and I want to thank all of you just for doing it. Just for being here. We're just plugging along, and that's what we do. We just keep swimming. So please do take that meditation, that Tartuk meditation. Sit in a cafe, sit at home, and think about who brought you here today, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And maybe they were not who they appeared to be. Cool. Thank you all very much. And please turn on your microphones and say goodbye to each other. And we'll see you soon.
Gracias,
Goodbye,
team.
Thank you,
team.
team.
Thank you, teacher. Thank you,
Bye.
team.
As maestro team.
Everyone.
Have
Thank
a
you.
nice day.
Thank you, teacher team.
Лишайся
Thank you very
здравий.
much. Dear Team La, it was great to meet you in Diamond Mountain.
Everybody.
Thank you very much. Дякую.
Благодарю.
Thank you.
Дякую.
Дякую.
Thank you. Дякую. Thank you
Please
very
stay
much.
with us.
Please stay so long with us. Mulțumesc. Seara frumoasă. Cảm ơn thầy Tiên. Cảm ơn biết ơn thầy Tiên.
All right. See you all later. Bye.
Bye.